So at Defender I got a couple extra replacement fuel filters, and I'm glad I did this. This is all stuff I want to do before we leave, because look at this current filter. There is so much crap in it. Look at the stuff just falling off. It's disgusting how much stuff, which make me think we need to clean our tanks, but that's why you have the fuel filters.
Ooh. If you're new to our channel, I'm Ashley and this is Colin. We work 9 to 5 jobs and travel every chance we get. In 2020, we bought an old van and converted it to continue traveling around the US when the world shut down. At the start of 2021, we decided we wanted to explore more of the sea. So we started a business and converted as many vans as we could until finally being able to afford our first boat. Come along with us as we start this new journey. I am going to start taking off the rub rail. Just because there's some places on it that kind of looks cracked underneath, and they screwed right into it, and it just needs to be replaced. And since we have a little extra time before we paint, I want to take it off and make sure there's no damage underneath, because it does look like they ran into something, and then they just went and screwed it right into this where it's supposed to be screwed under this layer. But if you look under here, you can see it's cracking a good bit. And I want to take it off and see what the damage is. I've only gotten one screw out and it's already about to fall off. So yeah, I think it's time that this gets replaced. Okay, I have to put this down because I can't do it with 2 hands. Okay, so I'm doing this correctly. I have to wiggle this out of the center, and then there's screws in there to take this off. And Colin's up there working. Halfway there. Getting it off a good bit. One screw here that's stripped and I can't get it. And then look, here's some damage that I was talking about that needs to be fixed. Wow. Completely soaked too.
One eternity later.
We are back at the boat, but this time it is actually my brother and I. We're going to be painting the bottom. That's the main goal for this trip. And then finishing up the electrical. So it's 50 degrees finally. It's sunny. We have 3 days of warm weather and no rain, so we're gonna knock this out. So after 5 long months of prepping, we are finally ready to paint the bottom. You can see some of the blister spots that we fixed that were mostly old repairs that had been fixed at one point, but just the epoxy was coming off, so we re-epoxied and fixed them. My brother is prepping the bottom for us to actually finally put on the paint. We came back and finished and cleaned up those paint lines a lot better, so it does come out quite nice. But we are finally ready to paint the bottom and super excited. So we wanted to get rid of this blue. We hated the blue bottom. We think that the black looks a lot more sophisticated and modern, and the blue just dates it. So we went with the black Hydro Coat from Pettit that we heard great things about, and eventually we were able to get 3 solid coats on the bottom. So we're excited about that. We should have several years of essentially perfect bottom paint for us to just scrub and scrape, and it'll still be there. And then once it starts to wear through, you'll begin to see that blue coming through that'll let us know that hey, it's time to pull the boat out and put some more bottom paint on. So it is an ablative paint. We are headed south to where it's going to be very warm and a lot of growth. She looks a lot better when she's in black. So again, one coat, gonna do one more coat tomorrow and then another coat the next day. We're gonna try to get started really early tomorrow because the weather's supposed to be good. So we might actually get 2 coats in tomorrow, but we'll wait and see how fast it actually sets up and what the temperatures actually are. But yeah, really excited to get rid of that blue. She's looking pretty good. We're excited. My brother and I are now off to go get the Zodiac, the new inflatable for the boat, the new tender, the rib, whatever you want to call it. It's about an hour's drive away. We're gonna go there, probably grab a bite at a really nice Irish pub that's right next door. So that's what's next on the plan, why we literally wait for this paint to dry to where we can do another coat tomorrow. So we have our body bag, which is our new Zodiac. Freaking bright out here and warm, which you would not believe that this morning it was like 35 degrees and raining. So we're stopping at West Marine here in, I don't know, Stamford or something, Connecticut. We're gonna take the Zodiac back, load it up on the boat, get another coat of paint on tomorrow, and then probably head home here soon. So one thing we're gonna do before calling it a day today is we're gonna be starting the motor. So stuff's gonna come out of there for once. It's the beginning of the season. It's not gonna freeze anymore. So we are gonna start it up, get it up to temperature, do an oil change, make sure everything looks good before we put the boat in the water. We're again waiting for the paint to dry before we can put another coat on tomorrow. So we're gonna call it a day by starting the motor. We have the Zodiac here that we're gonna put up top and strap down until we're ready to come and unload it next, or unpack it next time. And then I'm gonna start working on the back where this rub rail was. It got torn off at some point. Someone hit something and tore the rub rail off. So I'm gonna mix up some epoxy and a lot of filler, fill that in, smooth it out, sand it, and get it ready to put a new rub rail back on. So the back has all been epoxied. It's looking pretty good. Next step is to sand it and then add the new rub rail afterwards. So it's got to cure. Gonna take a while to cure, so we're gonna let it cure while we paint another coat. Not sure how well you can hear me with all this wind, but I'm gonna start now. I ran 3 wires that I needed, very boring, just running wires. So now what I'm gonna be doing is replacing this old GPS, I unscrewed it, with a new one for the AIS, and then also attaching the AIS antenna to the top of this existing pole mount. And then run the wires down underneath here, running the wires underneath here where they're going to connect to where the chart plotter is. There's a whole mess of wiring under here, which is fine. Easy to get to, just a little bit cumbersome to get to once you get to it, but easy to work in that area. So I'm going to do that now. If you can't tell, I am way down here in the back of the boat. This is the rudder shaft, and I came in up there. Here's the very old, outdated Raymarine system. The only thing we're keeping from this right now is the the autopilot, just because we don't feel like buying a $3,000 unit right now, and it will be fine for what we need it to do in the short term. So we're going to keep that. Everything else with the old chart plotters can go, and I'm going to be able to reuse the fuse box and the various other things that are down here. It was really nicely done, even with extra fuses, which is awesome. So I'm going to get to essentially take off most of these boxes except for the autopilot box, and then work on the NEMA 2000 networking to connect everything together, and putting in the AIS box back here as well. Yeah. Now that the AIS is in, this is the cable for the antenna, so I get to now make a cable end, a coax cable end, down here in the back of the boat. This is about as much as I can move, so it's going to be fun. Never done this before in this small space. And I won't be able to test it because I can't hook this up on this trip. So I hope I get it right.
A few moments later.
So I was actually able to connect it. I had everything I needed. So if you can tell, we are green. And we have AIS. So one thing to check off now, basically hooking up all the chart plotters and the radar to chart plotters, and we're good to go with the electronics. So I'm going to clean all this up, put the cover back on this, do a bunch of zip ties, and then I'll be done down here for a little bit.
She's a beast.